Okay, welcome everybody. Hi. It's a quiet group today. I was expecting you guys to be a little more rowdy. Especially, well, not yet, right? Okay, well, you guys have warning. So welcome everybody. My name is Gus Chalkias. I am the coordinator of the Technology Demonstration Center at CCVIP, which is the Computer Center for Visually Impaired People at Baruch College. And I want to welcome you all here today to our presentation called Meet the Commission. And one of the, we've been doing demo center presentations now for just about, I think this is our 2-year mark. Yeah, we started in September of '09. So this is our 2-year mark, and we did, obviously our primary focus has been on technology, because we are the computer center and this is the technology demo center. But over the course of the last couple of years, I've gotten some feedback where people have questions about other types of issues that people in our community deal with. So we've had a session on low vision, we've had a session on vision rehab teaching, and today I really thought, because I encounter a lot of questions from people that I work with or that I interact with about the commission and what the commission for the blind and visually handicapped does or doesn't do, or can and cannot do, So we thought, what a great opportunity, let's bring them to the community, okay? So, and you'll be, I'll be interjecting as we go along this afternoon, and we'll take all questions and things like that. But since I'm not the commission expert, as much as I like to think myself an expert in certain things, I'm certainly not an expert on the commission, but we did invite a couple of experts to come join us. And we have with us here this afternoon, Cheryl Hunter Adorno and Louis Mercado, who are both vocational rehab counselors with the commission. Just to give you a little bit of background on both of them, Cheryl has been in the field of human services for just over 30 years, right? And has been with the commission now for just about 14 years. She holds a master's in education and was a student at Hunter College, and she's also a certified rehab counselor. When she first started with the commission, her main focus was working with the blind and elderly population, who were primarily homemakers, okay? And has, kind of still works with that community, but has also transitioned into working with people who are working towards employment, so hence the title of vocational rehab counselor, right? Louis has also been with the commission for several decades. No, I'm kidding. Since about the mid-90s. What can I say about Louis Mercado? He's a friend. No, he works predominantly with people who are working towards vocational goals. He works with the community, within the blind community, both with English and Spanish-speaking clients, which is obviously in New York City, that's an important thing to have, right? And he also, in addition to being a counselor, he also brings to the table having been a client of the commission. So he kind of has the experience of seeing it from both sides, right? So he's going to be able to speak to us about that as well today. And I think I've spoken enough, yes? Yeah. You guys are tired of hearing about it from me? So I'm going to hand the mic over to Cheryl. And, we'll be, as Cheryl and Louis are speaking, please, feel free to, is raised hands okay, you guys?
No, probably not. No.
Okay, so you can ask questions, just make yourselves known, politely. Not too many, not 100 people with screaming voices, but we're more than happy to answer any questions as we're going along. And as many of you know, we are filming this presentation to go onto our website, so we thank you for letting us do that as well. Okay, so I'm going to hand the mic over. Do you have a question?
I just wanted to thank you, because the commission was like someone in the sky there that sounded so overwhelming. And I'm so grateful to you for this presentation, because now we'll know what the commission is and what's available, and it won't be a mystique anymore.
Fantastic.
So thanks for doing this.
You're welcome, and thank you for saying that. That's awesome, thank you. Okay, sure.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay, basically, what we do is we work with people who are blind, legally blind, vision loss. And when you first come to us, we want to see how you function in society, in the community. What will happen is we go in and we make sure that, you're able to take care of yourself. Can everybody hear me? I feel like I'm losing it.
Yeah.
Be
a little louder.
Okay. The things that you do in daily life, like, dressing yourself, taking care of your families, cooking, cleaning your home, being able to get out to the store, running your errands, getting to the bank, being able to read your mail. Now, most of these things you do with vision, okay? It's very, very visual. When you have vision loss, there are, other things that come into play. How are you going to vacuum the floor? How are you going to read your mail? How are you going to get to the store? Those kind of things. So what we do is we make sure that you're able to do this with your vision loss. You may have to incorporate other senses into the picture, like for instance, being able to walk outside to the deli to get your sandwich. You have to be able to get to the deli. How are you going to get there? Being able to get down the steps. If you have sight, you're able to see so to do so. But when you don't have sight, you have to be able to maybe feel for the step at the bottom, knowing, where you are, in perpendicular to, getting outside, those kinds of things. So what we do is, we'll come in and we're able to, teach you how to get from your home to the deli. Being able to get off the curb, being able to get down the stairs safely, being able to cross the street, using other senses, using your ears, judging, where the cars are, with your ears. There's certain aids that maybe will help you. You may, use a cane. You may use sighted guide. This is just, an example of, just one example. The same with the home, being able to vacuum the floor, being able to know, are you getting all the dirt up? There's certain methods that can be used, such as the grid method, and on and on. So that's basically what we do. We want to make sure that you're able to care for yourself before, you venture out there to, decide to go to work. Okay. We offer what they call vision rehabilitation teachers, and they help you in the home, being able to dress, being able to take care of your family, your loved ones, being able to get the meals. We have what they call orientation and mobility instructors, who will come out and help you get to the store. Then there is low vision, so that you're able to read your mail. We, send you to what they call an optometrist. And that person will examine your eyes and determine what there is that can help whatever, usual vision that you do have, to be able to read your mail and do your banking and whatnot. Okay, so those are the basics. How we start is, usually there's an application process. There's proof of legal blindness, which you can get from your medical, professional, eye doctor. There's, maybe financial eligibility. We'll get that, we'll get to that later, depending on, what type of services that you're looking for. And then, citizenship, usually, being an American citizen. Okay, so once we have that down, then, you're assigned to a counselor, you go through the intake process, and then, we also, I wanted to also mention there's a casework piece of it for, if there's things that you need to learn about in the community. Like for instance, if you want to learn how to, if you want to get accessoride, for instance, or, if you need information on housing, or you may need information on benefits, about SSI, SSD, those kinds of things. And then we, refer you to agencies in the community that have these professionals to be able to help you along with these, the process. And the goal here is independence using your vision loss, being able to function independently, in your life and in society. So that's basically the start of services. Is there any questions on that piece? That's the first start. Anyone?
What do they call the grid method for vacuuming? You're standing on one side and you go perpendicular to you, or you do one side of the floor and then the other?
Yeah, okay, basically, like if you're vacuuming the floor, of course a person with vision can see the dirt, whereas, we can't. So there's a method where it's like you would go probably perpendicular up and down and then side to side. That's kind of a poor way of explaining it, but it's, so that the dirt, you're able to get all the dirt secured, so that you have it all. That's what the grid method is. That's one method that's used. And then you're able to clean the table, and you're able to do, vacuum the floor and that, whatnot, and you've made sure that you've gotten all the dirt. Is there anyone else?
How do we get in touch with you?
Okay, we have offices throughout the, New York City metropolitan area. We cover here, New York City, there's the Harlem office, which covers the Bronx and Upper Manhattan. And then we have the Manhattan office, which covers, I think it's between 23rd Street and Lower Manhattan into Brooklyn and Staten Island. Okay, then we have a Long Island office, which covers, Nassau and Suffolk County. And Queens.
Yep.
Okay, so what we do, I don't know if you have a computer, but, we're also on the computer, and, we bought business cards today, I know I have. You can speak with me at the end, and, I can, kind of direct you, according to where you're living, or, you can call me on the phone and I'll make sure to direct you to where you need to go.
Cheryl, can I say something to that?
Sure.
Also, at the end, I forgot to mention earlier, at the end of today's session, you will each be receiving a CD with some resource material on it. And that resource material also includes contact information for all of the offices of the New York State Commission. So, and it'll tell you which zone each office serves, so that you'll be able to navigate and call the appropriate office. But as Cheryl just said, if you by chance call the wrong office, they will be more than happy to direct you to the correct one. But there are 3 offices that serve the greater New York area, the 5 boroughs and Nassau and Suffolk County. So there's 3 offices that serve those areas, and you'll be getting information about that as you walk out today. And if you have any difficulties accessing that information, you can always give me a call, which my business card will also be in the CDs that you'll be getting at the end of the day. So you can always call me, and I'll be more than happy to give you that information as well.
So, does anyone have any other questions for Cheryl?
Yes, someone.
Do you have any printed list of the stuff that's on the CD?
Question?
The question was, do we have any printed list of the information that's on the CD? I do not have it available, but if you give your name to either Lisa or Sharon as you walk out, I'll be more than happy to send it to you. So we can definitely manage that, okay?
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Will you be able to, let's say, separate low vision, legally blind? Since I have faced this, I'm not certain. At first, when I wasn't legally blind, they made it sound like it was winning the lottery because I would get certain things if you were legally blind as compared to low vision. And then I think there's probably a different need for people in low vision, a different need than someone who's totally blind. Will you help us to differentiate or know?
Yeah, we can actually, we can certainly do that, and you're right, there is.
Repeat the question.
Oh, yes.
That was quite a question.
That was quite a question. The question is to make a distinction, and correct me if I'm wrong, to make a distinction between the terms legal blindness and low vision and total blindness. And we can certainly do that, and how we do that is when we start out, after we receive your application, you're assigned to a counselor who will work with you specifically on your case. And the first thing that counselor will do is they will ask for documentation of your vision loss. So is your vision loss due to whatever, diabetic retinopathy? Is it due to macular? Is it due to any number of other causes? that we need to have that documented. So it really would help the application process tremendously if you already have some of that with you. If you don't, we can make a referral to an eye doctor or a low vision specialist to determine what is the cause of your vision loss. And then and only when we have documentation that you are diagnosed legally blind as defined in New York State, then you are found eligible for services. Generally what legal blindness in New York State means is a visual acuity of 20/200 or field loss of 20 degrees or greater, okay? If you're not found to be legally blind, we can refer you to our there's another agency called, it used to be called Vested, I think it's now called Access New York?
It's Access VR.
Access VR, thank you. And Access VR is the other New York State agency that works with every other disability than legal blindness. Okay, the Commission for the Blind only works with individuals who are diagnosed legally blind, and again is defined by an eye doctor. Okay, so does that answer your question?
It does answer my question, and so you have to be legally blind in order to benefit from the commission.
Yes, you do have to be diagnosed legally blind in order to qualify for our services, yes.
Because if you're speaking of Vested and it has a new name, they deal, quote unquote, with all other issues.
Correct,
And
correct.
they're not exactly, I would not go to them. I have a son who lost his arm, and it's not a place I would recommend to anyone.
Right.
So that would mean that I, who am not yet, I may be legally blind, will be getting information from you that I may need in the future, but at this moment, it will not have anything to do with.
Well, you know, that's interesting. I think that we can actually, if a doctor can tell us that that your vision loss is progressive, and you will certainly be legally blind within about a year, we can start working with you.
Yeah, because you see, for me, the complicated issue is, one can say you're not legally blind, but I feel myself to be functionally blind, meaning I may be able to see in my tests, but when I go outside to do whatever, I can't really function the way I would like to, and
Right.
yet I don't. It's almost like being middle class rather than low class and high class. You're too rich or you're too poor.
Right.
And I'm too whatever the heck I am.
Well,
That's why there's also the addition, in addition to the acuity, there's also the vision field loss qualifier. So if you're deemed to have functionality that's better than either of those two criteria, then you don't qualify as legally blind. So legally blind is not as cut and dry as you might think. So we definitely, you may want to talk to either Louis or Cheryl, after we're done with the presentation. They might be able to guide you a little better, or to offer some more
I will
information.
appreciate
Okay?
yeah, we're certainly making time at the end of the presentation. I think about, 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah, about the last 20 or
At the
30
end,
minutes.
yes,
Mhm.
and we can entertain individual, topics and
Thank
issues.
you so much.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Thank you for that definition, I really appreciate it.
Sure, you're very welcome. So, Cheryl, do you want to?
I had a question.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Being new to the area and living here, and I'm in Queens, and Queens is split up, and I'm in the Hempstead office, and they only come to Queens twice a month. It puts you at a disadvantage. They immediately want to know if you know how to get to Hempstead, which I don't, and my mobility here is not good at all. I don't understand why Queens is put into a Long Island office where you can so much easier access something that's here in one of the other boroughs, or where you could get to on Accessorize.
Yeah, no, I think it has to do with numbers, because the two district.
Repeat the question, please.
Yes,
I didn't hear that.
the question was what, the question was, if the applicant lives in Queens, why are they obligated to work with the Hempstead Long Island office, which apparently is not as accessible? And I believe the answer may have to do with numbers in terms of applicants and number of consumers that we have to deal with. so that the two district offices in Manhattan deal with the Bronx and all of Manhattan and Staten Island and Brooklyn, and then that leaves the Hempstead, Long Island office to deal with obviously Nassau and Suffolk County and Queens as well. It's a way of distributing evenly the caseloads.
Wouldn't it be more efficient to put more counselors into the other office?
Oh, well, now you're talking about, I think you need to talk to the governor about hiring more staff.
Okay, I want to answer that question. We recently had a change in the beginning of the year, whereas Queens has been split. Certain, I'm not sure of the boundaries, areas are covered now by the Harlem office.
Right, that's what they
Okay,
call it.
and, you know, there's certain other areas of Queens that is covered by Long Island, so, you know, I guess after this we can, you know, meet and, you know, I can, you know, ask you where you're, you know, you live.
I'm in the
and determine-
Hempstead, and what
You are
it
in Hempstead still,
amounts
maybe you
to
could be.
is my husband on his day off is going to take me to Hempstead.
Mhm.
I'm already held up 2 months, and if I want to wait for an appointment in Queens, I'd be held up at least another month to meet
Yeah.
with the counselor.
I see. Well, maybe, you know, we can look into that for you, and, you know, since, you know, you're having this, you know, we could, you know, work something out, whereas you can be, you know, switched to our Harlem office, you know, and be serviced from there. You know, because, you know, they recently put me in Queens, now they have, you know, another young lady in Queens, and now I've been added to Queens, so, you know, you can be accommodated. So, you know, if you want, you know, we can speak later about that, if you'd like, and see if we could maybe work something to make it easier for you.
I'd like to say also that I'm in Queens also, and I'm practically at the border, the Queens,
Yeah.
Long Island border. And accessoride, they will pick me up, they will take me, like 10 minutes away from the house to a location where I can get the I think it's called Able, okay, to take me out to Hempstead, and believe it or not, it's so roundabout. You know, so it's really, really difficult.
Sure. Understand. Okay, I guess the next, topic.
All right, so I'm gonna cover, I was gonna cover a lot of what Cheryl was covering. Maybe I'll just sort of brush up or fill in whatever I didn't hear her say. So, again, initially we start with the, am I too loud?
No.
Okay, all right. I think I'm very nervous. If I start speaking in tongues, you'll understand why. So again, we do the low vision assessment, the legal blindness diagnosis, and once we have that, then we sit down and kind of ask you, what is it? What are your problem areas? What is it that you're experiencing difficulty doing as a result of your vision loss? Now, different people are going to have different issues. Obviously, someone who is born with vision loss, who's never had sight, presents with a different set of problems than someone who becomes visually impaired later in life as a result of diabetes or any number of other issues. A lot generally, what we see over and over again is whether you're young or older, a lot of people can always benefit by mobility lessons, and that's the ability to get around by yourself. You know what, actually, well, before I talk about that, the goal, the main goal of of all of our services is to make you as independent as possible, okay? Because we really, isn't it infinitely better for you to be able to do things on your own and not be relying on friends or family members? And if you're able to learn certain skill set and techniques, you're able to manage your life independently, and wouldn't that make you a better person? So to that end, that's the goal of our services, to make you as independent as possible. And whether that means providing mobility lessons so that you're not depending on people to get you around, or whether it's teaching you vision rehab services so that you're able to clean your own apartment and take your own notes and go out by yourself and do your own shopping, then, sorry?
Technology training?
Well, I'm going to cover that later, yes, that's a very good point, thank you, but I am covering that later.
Sorry.
Note-taking, well, yeah, with the note-taking, you know, how is it? Are you able to make a shopping list? by yourself, so that you're able to go out and get all the things that you need without forgetting anything. So we start out with the low vision, we start out with the mobility, the vision rehab training. We also provide casework, because often a lot of people have issues, have emotional issues attached to their vision loss, especially if they become legally blind later in life. You know, you function most of your life as a non-disabled, quote-unquote, seeing person, and all of a sudden, or gradually, you've had vision loss, and it's very difficult for you to manage, and you have feelings of depression, and you don't understand what's going on, and you feel your friends, you may feel your friends sort of distancing themselves because they see you in a different light. So how do you deal with this? So we're able to offer a service called casework, and that's the option of seeing someone individually, one-on-one, that you can talk to about this, and hopefully come to some resolution. We find that a lot of people find that useful. The caseworker also is able to not only to help with the vision loss issues, but very often to connect you with benefits in the community that you may be entitled to, that the VR counselor may not be aware of. Whether it's things like if you're eligible, things like food stamps or medical insurance like Medicaid, or some of the federally funded programs like SSI, or if you have a work history, SSD. So the benefits person is also able to connect you with those services. Okay, are there any questions on any of those things? Just yell them out.
Do you have anything to do with supplying something that you could read? If you go to some place, you want to read a menu or make a list?
Very good question, very good question. The question was, do we supply reading for people who have a fair amount of functional vision that can read but have difficulty seeing print, let's say in a dark restaurant, or the labels or the price tags at a store? That is covered during the initial low vision examination. The low vision doctor will determine if you do have functional vision. Again, the goal is to improve your vision, and oftentimes functional vision can be improved by providing the patient, the consumer, with different devices such as handheld magnifiers or handheld binoculars, so that they're able to see street signs or store signs from a distance. Handheld magnifiers, oftentimes with light, so that you can read in a darkened area, and we do pay for those as well, but they have to be prescribed by the low vision doctor. We can't just, I just can't see you during the initial interview and say, oh, it looks like you could benefit from some low vision devices. I'll get them for you.
When you say low vision doctor, how do you connect up with a low vision doctor?
Okay, during our initial visit, we'll determine whether a low vision assessment is beneficial for you, and we'll direct you to one. We have low vision doctors all throughout the city. They are available at the agencies like the Lighthouse and the Jewish Guild for the Blind and Helen Keller in downtown Brooklyn. And we also have an assortment of what we call private vendor low vision doctors that are not necessarily connected to an agency. So you can leave that up to us. We'll do all the referring for you, depending on what area you live in. Okay?
Thank you.
Does that answer you? Okay, very good. Any other questions on the low vision referral or low vision devices? Okay, very good. So we did the casework, and after that, if the person is interested, many people just want to stop services there. They're not necessarily interested in any additional training, and which leads me to my next area, which is employment. Employment is a big, big field for us. We want as many people who can and who want to get to work. Despite the economic situation, there still are jobs available, and we feel that given enough training, that it is possible for you to become employable. To that end, we provide an assortment, an array of services that are sort of career oriented. And again, we'll sit down, your counselor will sit down with you and sort of assess, well, what are your interests? What is it? Do you have a work history? If you don't have a work history, what is it that you would need in terms of training or credentials to make you employable? So we have an array of services, beginning with academics. If, let's say your goal is to, actually, I was asked to bring a case study, and I completely forgot, but I think I can make one up in my head based on what I've done. Oftentimes, I'll be assigned a new consumer, 18 years old. He's finishing high school. He's legally blind, or she's legally blind. So we'll sit down and make the initial assessments and provide the initial services, the mobility, the low vision, if they need it. And then we'll ask that 18-year-old, well, after you finish high school, what do you want to do? Do you want to go on to college? What is it that you want to do in terms of employment? Does your goal require a college degree? Does your goal require any kind of training other than a college degree that we could conceivably enroll you in and provide that service to you, that training for you, so that you can become employable? So oftentimes we'll refer that person for an academic assessment to determine where they are functioning at in terms of their writing skills, their math skills, their academic skills, to see if they are appropriate for academics, for a college or any other kind of academic training that would require those skills. If the person comes up short, we can provide remediation in those areas that they're found weak in. And that remediation, again, is also provided through the private agencies like the Lighthouse, like the Jewish and Catholic Guilds, and Helen Keller in downtown Brooklyn. Any questions so far? Because I have a lot I want to say about this.
Okay, what about someone who taught for X amount of years, retired, lost vision, maybe would like to do some volunteer work again, but somehow can't, doesn't know the computer?
Okay.
Is there any way to get involved with that?
You're talking about computer training?
Yes.
Yes. Well, in terms of if the job requires that you use a computer, and I can't think of, there aren't too many jobs out there today that don't require the use of a computer. I mean, I can think maybe they feel like maintenance work or something of that nature, which is more manual. But a lot of other office-type jobs, clerical positions, administrative positions, professional positions, absolutely require the use of a computer, and we do provide computer training. If you don't know the computer keyboard, we start out with basic keyboard training, and then we progress on to the computer keyboard. Okay, so does that answer your question? Go ahead.
Okay, so now you have to have one requirement is that you be quote-unquote legally blind or whatever.
Correct.
Then the next thing, now if you're legally blind and you need all these accessories, then do you have an income requirement?
We do have a ceiling, an economic ceiling, but I gotta tell you, I've been here 17 years, and most of the basic services we're able to cover without cost to the consumer, to you. The low vision devices, if you can benefit from a cane for mobility, if you benefit from some adaptive devices for the home, like a talking scale or I don't know, a talking watch, we certainly can cover those. Those aren't really dependent on economic, what we call economic need. Generally, the things that cost more money, like college tuition, computers for a job, things that run into the thousands of dollars, then we kind of look into your income to see if you meet economic need. And there are several levels of that depending on what your income is. Generally, if you receive public benefits like SSI or disability, Social Security disability, you automatically meet economic need, because that's not a whole heck of a lot of money. And so we don't worry about it. Then we'll ask you to document it again. Everything, we're a state agency, we love paper. And so we'll ask you to document, if you do receive SSI, we're gonna need a letter from, a recent letter from your award letter. So it's in your folder, and that's how we determine, whether you meet economic need or not. Is that the answer?
Yes, thank you.
All Okay, going on with the remediation services. If your job requires, if you don't have a, let's say like a GED diploma, and for a lot of jobs today you need at the minimum a GED diploma, we can provide remediation for that at agencies like the Jewish Guild. If you are a non-English speaking person and you want to work, and it would make you infinitely more employable if you know, if you're able to have a conversation with your employer, with your co-workers in English, we can provide ESL classes, ESL remediation. If your goal is to go to college, once you have your GED or if you have a high school diploma, we can provide pre-college classes to sort of prop you up for college, because no legally blind person should be attending college, freshman college, without some preparation. It's a totally different scenario than high school. And we often find that people who aren't propped up by virtue of a pre-college program really don't do as well as we'd like them to. So referral for a pre-college program prepares them. It teaches them technology. It teaches them how to write a letter. It teaches them how to write a paper. It teaches them how to identify themselves to the professors and the rest of the college community that they'll be dealing with, because without that, you're really not going to progress too far. Once you're accepted into a college, again, the pre-college program, we do college sponsorship. We'll look at your economic need there, but if you are determined to be eligible for college, we will certainly ask that you apply for whatever financial aid you're eligible for. We do pay for some college-related expenses, but we insist on the student applying for whatever financial aid through the government, federal government or state government as well, before we kick in what we can pay. So we can pay for things like, let's say if your financial aid doesn't cover all of your tuition, we can pay some of the balance up to certain points. Up to certain points. We can pay for transportation, we can pay for books and supplies, and certain other assorted other related expenses. Again, no one succeeds in college without a computer. So if it's determined that you're eligible to go to college, if your goal requires a college degree, we will refer you for what we call a technology assessment, so that you can be introduced to the wonderful world of adaptive computers, so that you can use one in college, using the adapted media that's beneficial to you, whether it's synthetic speech with JAWS, or text enlarging software like Zoom Text, and we'll teach you how to use all of those programs so that when you start your first day of college, you already know how to use that computer to its maximum, and you're able to compete with your non-disabled student counterparts, student friends. Again, all of the services that we provide are offered. We have contracts with a lot of the agencies that provide these services to our consumers. Agencies like the Lighthouse on the Upper East Side, the Jewish Guild in Midtown on the West Side over by Lincoln Center, the Catholic Guild for the Blind again in the East 50s, Helen Keller in downtown Brooklyn, Visions, which is in downtown Manhattan. Certainly, where you're sitting now, CCVIP has a lot of great programs that we often refer to, computer-related programs, software training programs like Windows. Gus, maybe you can talk about a few of those a little later. Sure. And the CCVIP has a little offspring, called the Demo Center, which Gus is the head of, and he can certainly talk to you a little bit about that. But essentially, the Demo Center introduces you to, a lot of adapted devices such as the iPhone or iPad, and devices with adapted software installed in them. And I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover. So, any questions?
Yes.
Let's go.
I have a question. You mentioned about the college, they're providing a computer for colleges?
Yes, if it's determined that you can use one, yes.
Yes. What about the one who's in training to do a computer training. Right now, I'm a consumer, and I'm almost 1 year with the CCVIP. I took 5 programs already, I got 3 more to go. And you know, when you're doing computer, you need to have something at home. The only way I could do my training is to go every Friday. I took Windows Concept, Word 1, Word 2, surfing the internet, now it's Excel. It's not coming back to me because I don't have anything to touch. The only training that I have is to touch my telephone with a pad, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I understand.
That's all I do.
I understand.
And the only equipment they gave me is recorder and digital dictionary.
Right.
And what about that?
Okay. So the question is?
The question is why I'm not qualified to get a computer while I'm still on training.
Why are people who are enrolled in computer classes, computer training,
Yes.
not eligible for a computer in their home?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone that you know who's not legally blind can walk into a store like J&R or any computer store and purchase a computer for how? For $400?
Yeah, they can do it for 3 or 2.
3, 200?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. That's not the case with adapted computers.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I can buy a computer, why not? The only problem is there's nothing on the computer. I need the adaptive technology.
You need the adapted technology. Okay, I thought you were asking a different question. I thought you were. Okay. No, it's a good question. Adaptive technology is, because it's a limited market, you know, adaptive technology is not made for the general public, which means that it would be produced in large quantities and consequently that would lower the price. Adaptive technology is a very, very small market, and because it's a small market, it's insanely expensive. Okay? A copy of Zoom Text, which is a software program that enlarges text on a computer monitor, is $600, I believe.
No, it's about 800 to
I recently bought one.
Okay, one person at a time, everybody.
Okay, so there we go. I'm getting the sense that I was way under. So again, my point is that a lot of this technology is insanely expensive, and it becomes cost prohibitive for us to provide adapted technology for everyone who is still in training. Okay? You certainly, and I appreciate your plight that you have to go. You can't train at home. You can't follow up with what you've learned here at Baruch at home, and you may forget some of the stuff because you're not practicing.
Right.
By the same token, again, my point is because of the cost, it really, we just can't provide that to everyone who's still in training. Sure, absolutely. I think Gus wants to offer something. Sure.
Thank you. So there are some free alternatives. There is a program called NVDA, which is an acronym for Non-Visual Desktop Access, which is a free open source screen reading software that you can download and install onto your PC and make it usable. So for people who are able to, so you may not be able to afford, let's say, the $1,200 or $1,300 that it costs to purchase JAWS, you can download something that's free and put it onto your computer. So if you're able to go out and purchase a computer, then you can do that as an alternative. And so it's just something that there is to consider. There are free alternatives, and NVDA is like I said, it's an open source software, which means that it's constantly being updated by multiple people and constantly being improved on. And the latest version, which I think is either 12 or 13, but I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is actually supposed to work very, very well with Microsoft and Microsoft Office. So there are alternatives to what we were just talking about. Okay, that's just something for you. And if anybody has any questions about that, I'll be more than happy to answer them, you know, at a later time, or you're welcome to call me. But yes, there's a question here to my left.
No, my question
Yes.
was whether or not there's a listing of those things, because as this gentleman had said, I was one of the students that was with you and didn't do very well
Right.
because I had nothing to practice on.
Sure.
and I wound up, kind of dropping out.
I understand,
Okay?
yeah.
And then once I dropped out, then I was given a computer. So, but I understand unless you all have, Windows 7, you still can't help me.
Right, well,
Okay.
that's correct. We're still working with Windows XP. Our systems are going to be upgraded as soon as the rest of the school upgrades them, which should be within the next couple of months. But yes, the only practice time we do offer is Learning Lab for Fridays from 1 till 4, which I understand is not always the most convenient,
It's not enough.
or it might not be enough.
Yeah.
I understand that, but unfortunately, that's what there is. If you'd like a list of resources, like what I just said, I can definitely put that together for you, and I think that's actually a really good idea for us to have that
Thank
prepared
you.
going forward. So thank you for that,
Thank
and
you.
I'll make sure that we start putting that together and have it ready for students as they come in through our courses. It's a great idea. Thank you. Who's that?
Norma.
Norma. Thank you. Hey, Norma.
Hi.
So thank you for that idea. I'll make sure that we start implementing that. Okay.
Let me go back to my question. Gus is telling the truth. It's only, they got another one, which is system access to go.
Yes.
The big problem is, my goal is to have a job in a computer-related job, which is either computer technician, computer operator, or input clerk. I still need a computer. I am training for almost a year now. I almost forgot everything now because I don't have anything to practice. The only way I could practice is when I go to CCVIP for 2 days, and then another extra day for Friday.
Okay,
Gus is telling the truth, which is the MBA, whatever she is calling. But we are on training on JAWS, Sumtex, and Magic. That's not included, that one is not related to that. The function of JAWS is too much. Costs around 1,000 combinations.
Are you working with the CVPH counselor?
CBBH, no, yeah.
Okay, can I make a suggestion that you speak with your counselor?
No,
about-
yeah, I spoke to him already. He said you have to be in college or you're going to work.
Well, no, we're talking about providing you opportunities to practice,
Right.
other opportunities to practice. Because I think there are other opportunities.
No, the only way I can practice is to come to Baruch, which is on Friday, when I'm still with them.
Right.
But after I finish this, I'll be finished in about end of October.
Right.
Then I'm
Okay.
waiting for another
Yeah.
classes, which is probably around December.
Right.
So meanwhile, two months there, I cannot touch the computer because I don't have anything to practice.
Yeah. But you understand my point that we can't really provide adaptive technology to everyone who wants it.
Yeah, the big problem is, yes, you cannot provide for everyone who likes it, but my situation is different from them. I am on the career of going to do the computer.
Right. No, I
Training to
understand.
be in a computer.
Right. Okay. Did you just? You know what? I don't want to spend a lot of time. I want to talk to you. So can you come up later at the end?
Yeah.
I can talk to you one-on-one.
All right.
Because I want to give other people opportunities to ask questions, and I don't want to spend like a lot of time now focusing on an individual case. I'll certainly be willing to do that later. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. Very good.
Okay.
From your experience, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I came a little late. What agency are you from and what?
Okay. We're with the New York Sanitation Department. No, don't believe a word. No, we're both, Cheryl and I, I'm Louis Mercado, this is Cheryl Hunter, we're both with the New York State Commission for the Blind. So we're the state agency that's responsible for providing services to people who are diagnosed legally blind.
And you probably make more money, Louis.
I think so, yeah.
You don't lend equipment out?
From your experience, this is sort of a whatever question, mine and then
You talk a little louder so we can all hear.
And can we
Yes,
stop
I
the
can.
side
Yes,
conversations
yes,
too,
I
please,
can.
just so that we can.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there, from your experience, a welcoming attitude? Do you have sort of a inventory of people who would be inclined, if not preferential treatment, but be open to hiring someone who does have a visual problem. Does the job counselor have sort of a outreach to places where you wouldn't have to go sort of beg or look or hope?
Right.
Is
Okay.
that realistic?
Yeah, you're talking about once you've received all your
Yes,
training
once
and
you are qualified.
and you've got all your credentials or whatever it is that you need
Yes.
to become employable.
Right.
Do we have a way of making you more, so that you have an equal chance?
A place to go, and does the job counselor, can that job counselor help you put your qualifications together and say, well, for a person, you have certain limitations, like he has, you have certain limitations,
Right.
they can't do this, they can only do that.
Right, okay.
That would be, give me sort of a very hopeful feeling.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's one of the things that I didn't mention. Thank you for bringing that up. And I think you're talking about what we call a placement counselor, a placement person, who if you are looking to work and you've received all of your training and you're now ready to enter the world of work, we now refer you to a placement person whose job it is specifically to look with you for a job. They won't do it by themselves. You're a big part of that equation, okay? Actually, you're the biggest part of that equation. The placement counselor, and again, they're usually found at agencies like the Lighthouse and Helen Keller, will work with you to secure a job. They'll point you in a direction. They'll work to tighten up your resume or to write up a resume if you don't have one. So again, the goal, that person's job is to get you out there, to point you in that direction, and to make sure that you know about jobs and that you get into that waiting room and in front of that employer so that you can present yourself as another qualified candidate for whatever position is being interviewed for. So yes, we do provide that service.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we have a new member of the panel.
You do. I apologize for being late. It's Jason Eckert, the district manager from the Commission for the Blind in the Harlem office.
Jason Eckert, who is the district manager in the Harlem office. And I'll let Jason talk a little bit if you want to.
I totally can.
Or should we just roll along?
You might just want to roll on because I don't know what you covered.
Okay, we're just fielding questions.
Okay.
And, yeah, so we need more questions for now 3 of us to answer. Did I see I see some hands over here to my right, in the middle?
Right.
Yeah.
My question is, I'm looking for direction. I have Windows 7, and I have Windows 7.2, okay? Those I purchased myself, and unfortunately I can't operate the Windows Eyes. I've gone to GW Micro, because I need a tutorial. I did pay for lessons for some gentleman somewhere in the Midwest, and it appeared that he was learning the program as he was teaching me, because he taught something and then he'd say, well, no, okay, let me try this. I did not compute. And I was looking to know, is there any way I can get a tutorial? I called GW Micro, and they said, no, use the manual. Well, the manual is fine if I could figure out how to make it read it, or to, move along. They give you some instruction, but again, if I don't have somebody who's sighted to tell me what to do, it's useless. So, can you give me some direction on that?
Are you currently connected with the commission at all, or?
I was gotten services from the commission, and it was fabulous, I have to say, back in '79.
Okay, so you're not currently connected.
I worked 25 years, and now I'm retired.
Gotcha.
I would like to, I had window eyes at work, and that's why I kind of bought the new program.
Sure.
I could just sail through that, but I didn't know what to do.
Well, what I might recommend is you may want to contact an agency that does computer training, like us at CCVIP, and arrange for a one-on-one session, which we do offer, to just go over the basics of using Window Eyes. So, for example, if we were to look at the the user's manual or the manual of that particular software, we could go over that and see how you could access it independently, So that way you can go through the steps of learning how to use the software more in depth, you know what I mean? But we can definitely work with you to cover some of the more rudimentary functions so that you can be able to access the information that would allow you to develop that skill further.
Now, do you know what the rates are for that penetration?
You would have to call our operations manager. You can call our main number and ask for Judy, who is our operations manager, and she can tell you what the fee structures are, because we do base those on an individual basis as well. So I don't, and I'm usually one of the instructors, and I don't work with the money at all.
But I know we
That's
used to
not
have a
my.
tutorial on it, like, as part of the thing, that, you know, you would go in and it would tell you to do this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, to be honest with you, but we definitely can work with you, and we can definitely support you in just basically covering the basic functions, and then if you need to work with us to cover more detailed or more in-depth functions, we can work with that as well. But to get you up and running, I'm sure we have the we will be able to work with you.
So you do have the Window-Eyes program?
We do have Window-Eyes at the office, yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So basically here, you have limits, you're not like the money fairy. You have a certain budget and certain things you can provide. You can provide a possibility of a resource, supposedly, if somebody gave gifts of the old computer, whatever they do. But then the other person has to know they have to be able in some way to get the money, to get something for the next step.
Right.
This is not an agency that can provide every step along the way, and if you can't, it's unfortunate, but maybe. But you can provide the basics and send us to someone who might be able to help us climb the ladder.
Well, are you
are not our godfather. Everything we need.
Well, we can be. We've often been referred to as godparents.
Okay.
But
that's understandable. Otherwise, it would be. I mean, then you just have us for life going on and on to the next step. But I want to be clear on that.
Sure.
Sometimes you come in and you think you're going to get.
Right.
I know I made that mistake in this plan. I can tell him about all the little things I got with lights and blazes. They helped me go from seeing with glasses, without glasses, to glasses, and whatever.
Sure.
So the best you can do is find a place where someone can tell you to go, and then they can take you to the next step. But they cannot finance you.
Well, each case is different, and again, that's why I say we look at your. Are you talking about adaptive technology specifically?
I'm talking about anything.
Anything?
There's
Okay.
just so far you can go. You can provide maybe the training, but you can't provide the computer or the technical computer that costs $3,000. It's not possible.
Okay.
But you can at least give the steps.
Well, okay. Let's use the computer as an example. Oh, sure. We're talking about what are the limits in terms of us providing more expensive devices, or the more technologically advanced devices. We look at each case. I mean, that's why I said we look at your economic background, and if you are a college student, and again, no one succeeds in college without a computer, then we'll look at your background. And again, if you receive SSI or if you receive any other kind of public support, then you do automatically qualify for a computer to use in college. Let's say if you're dependent on your parents though, and your parents are insanely rich, then we probably couldn't provide that computer. We'll provide the training on whatever the adaptive technology, whether it's the Windows or the JAWS. The training is always free. That's never an issue. It's when we get into the hardware and software that we're talking about spending lots of money, and that's why we need to look at your background. So each case is different. I don't want to give you the impression that we use a cookie cutter approach to everyone. Each case is different. There's some flexibility in some instances. We look at people's economic backgrounds, and we'll make determinations based on that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, is there another question back there?
I have a question, which is not related to education, but the later years of life. I can get around now, but I worry if I can't get around, do I want to stay in my current apartment, are there housing, available? Do you have any information on that?
The housing situation, the question is there information on housing for the disabled in New York?
Oh, the older people, well.
For seniors and older people, sure. Unfortunately, the housing situation in New York is kind of, as you can imagine, iffy in terms of affordable housing. There are some housing developments where there's some form of subsidy included, and I don't know what the status is for external forms of subsidies like Section 8 or anything like that. Oftentimes the application process is closed because there are just so many applicants. There are more applicants than money. So in terms of actual housing, the only place that I can think of offhand is one building in particular on the Lower West Side of Manhattan, but that's only one building with how many apartments, like 60 or so? And infinitely many more applicants than they can accommodate.
Well, I suppose, if you have no place to go and you're old enough, you end up in a nursing home. Most probably. This is generally, I'm not.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I haven't.
Some assistance with sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, you're welcome.
We don't want.
It's Jason Eckert speaking, and again, sorry I'm late. One of the things that can happen, and I just want to say, and I'm going to answer the ma'am's question in just 1 second. The underlay with some of the things that I'm hearing, which you all may have discussed before I got here, is that if questions like this occur, can the commission help me with this, or can the commission help me with that? I'm retired, can I have assistance with my computer, even though I'm retired? Mr. Mercado's been doing a great job just in the few moments I'm here of telling you that each case is individualized, and that's absolutely true. So it warrants a call on everyone's part, or to try to get connected to the commission to start to ask some of these questions to the OD counselors that are on duty every day in each office, the office that's at 80 Maiden Lane or the office that's 125th Street. So it always warrants a call to ask such questions. You'll get different counselors who have different resources and sometimes different ideas, but I want to very much encourage people to call and ask the question, and then if a referral or other information can be provided, or if it's appropriate for the commission to help you, we'd be happy to do that. So to answer the woman's question about housing, Lewis is correct that initially, the only building that's in Manhattan that we're all aware of for people who have vision impairment is one building, on 23rd Street in Manhattan. But everyone who has a disability, blindness included, has access to the centers for the independent living centers for persons with disabilities. And there's one on 125th Street, there's one on 12th Street and Broadway, and there's one in each borough. And those centers do have housing specialists. So if you qualify in other ways for other programs, like 80-20 programs, or what's left of the Mitchell-Lama programs, or Section 8 as Lewis is identifying, you can contact those centers and say, I'm a disabled New Yorker and I'm interested in having assistance with housing. And they will at least forward you to a counselor that works at that center that can tell you what the options are. They won't specifically be blindness options. They'll be all the options, but you might fall into the catchment of being over 55 for senior housing, and most have small caveats if the income is low and somebody is disabled. So there might be places and things that you can apply to.
Do you apply to the commission, or?
No, in those instances, you could certainly call the commission to get the information about the Center for Independent Living in New York, and I can do that afterwards if you'd like. But in most cases, the commission wouldn't help you with that. They would just be able to refer you further. But if it's a question like that, I want to encourage people to call and ask that question. Can the commission help me with housing? Chances are the counselor will say no, but you can try the Center for Independence, for the disabled.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for that information back on the commissioner's office for question I asked people. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really do want to encourage people to feel comfortable, to call. If you're comfortable that the worst answer will be, we can't help you, but we'll try to get you someplace that can, and you're open to that type of referral and maybe making a second call and that isn't upsetting, please call.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Every day at every office, there are counselors whose job it is that day to field, sorry, I've been told to use that. Every day at every district office, our district offices, there are at least one or two counselors whose specific job that day it is to field questions from the community, such as this. So again, as Jason said, feel free to call. You'll always be guaranteed. You may not be guaranteed, that the person will be there, but if you call the main number, you'll be directed to that counselor's desk. If they're away, they'll return the call within 24 hours, and your questions will be addressed. But just know that we're always available and ready to answer questions, just like this. We don't have the numbers for the independent living centers with us, but if you call us, I know that we all have them within easy reach. So.
Louis,
Okay.
is Karen working?
Hi, Karen.
Can I ask one question?
Sure.
And I also actually do have one of the independent living center numbers that I could shout out right now. If
Okay.
you want to know it. Should I do that?
Sure, absolutely.
So the one in Manhattan on 14th and Broadway.
Okay.
Which is nicknamed Sydney, Center for the Independence of the Disabled in New York,
212
674
674
2300.
2300.
So that'll get you to the operator.
And that's the number for, actually, if I'm not mistaken, the main, or the main independent living center in Manhattan, because there is, I believe, a satellite office uptown. But that is the main one in Manhattan. And again, the number is 212-674-2300, and they're staffed by housing specialists, benefits specialists who can assist with applying for services and benefits like Medicaid or Social Security or food stamps. They have specialists in other areas as well. So they're certainly a very good resource for you to reach out to.
And my other actual question is when people call, I assume you've already, it just came in a little bit ago, I assume you already gave the main numbers for the commission offices?
That we haven't, but we have business cards, I know, with us, and we'll certainly circulate them at the end.
Okay, I was just gonna ask, who exactly does one ask for? If I've never called the commission and I make a call and somebody says commission for the blind, who should I ask for so I make sure I get that particular counselor, because I may not know a name?
You ask for the officer of the day, you ask for the OD.
Oh, okay. Officer of the day?
Yes, correct.
Like the on-duty counselor now.
Right,
It's
right.
just so, and if someone just identifies, my name is John Smith, I'm a visually impaired New Yorker, I'd like to speak to the on-duty counselor today, you'll get forwarded right through.
Sometimes even the secretary will answer a question. I've overheard phone calls from my secretary, and she's detailing some resource to an incoming call. So it may not even get to a counselor. It could be a very, very general question that the secretary. And if not, certainly she's instructed to direct the call to the OD.
I have a comment to make.
Sure.
I've heard very good things coming out of the two offices speaking today. But the office I've dealt with on Mondays, you only get a recording. And after I gave an intake, I was not called back after the 2 weeks I was told. And the reason that I was given after I kept calling for 2 days was she thought I was only interested in housing and she was not going to call me back. And I had to speak to the supervisor of that office, and he could not understand, and it took 2 days for him to get a reason why, and it went into the whole thing. And all the offices need to operate the way you are, but it went round and round to get. They're not all operating the way you are.
Right, and which office was this?
The Hempstead.
Oh, the Hempstead office. Yeah, I can't really account for why that happened. You certainly should get a call well under 2 weeks, and I mean, you did the right thing by contacting the supervisor.
The other thing is that the Hempstead number, okay, I don't know whether you realize that there is a problem getting through.
No, I got through.
Well,
I got
what
the
I keep
numbers.
getting is a ring, and then it goes to busy.
No, I got the number from the New
And
York
it's been for
office.
the last 2 weeks.
And this is started 2 months ago, and the New York office gave me their number, and I got recordings every Monday that I called. On Tuesdays, I would get a person, and someone finally took the intake, but then he told me I would hear back in 2 weeks. I didn't, so I called on a Monday, got the recordings. On Tuesday, I left messages Monday and Tuesday. When they did call back, the answer was I wasn't gonna call you back because I thought you were only interested in housing. I said, didn't you look at the form? And then I called the supervisor, which the New York office gave me, his name and a direct number. And he looked into it, and I wound up dealing with him, actually, not her at all.
Sure.
Till I got a counselor assigned.
Right.
But your offices seem to be much more efficient than.
Well, I don't know, I mean, you probably, if you hang around long enough, you probably hear complaints about our office.
I'm sure it happens in every, but it just seems to be very different.
There is, Jason, again, there is some circumstance in both these scenarios that you know, may be but shouldn't be, is how I would say it. So it shouldn't be, I don't know if it was coincidence or not, but it shouldn't be that every Monday you went to recording. Now, I'm not saying that that didn't happen. I'm going to guess it did happen. I'm going to hope that that is based on coincidence in a certain way. Every office should have someone between 9:30 and 5 that picks up the call. That's the criteria. At least an administrative staff, and then a person who's the on-duty counselor. But what I want to underscore is these things do happen, and you did the exact right thing, and that's what I wish to underscore. I know it can be frustrating. You know, I've returned calls after several days, and someone said to me, "You said you'd call on Friday, and now it's a week from Friday." You know, I didn't have the answer by the time it was time for the call, and I was, you know, whatever happened prevented me from doing that. So you did the right thing by continuing to call, and if you couldn't get a response, to call other people that you knew, to ask for the name of supervisors, and then to try and get in touch with those people. So it is an unfortunate circumstance, what happened, but I'm glad that you stuck with it. And I do want to underscore, just like Louis says, if we let everyone talk long enough, people will tell those stories about all the offices. I know people will tell those stories about me. So you know, I do want really to encourage people to persevere, because these things are supposed to happen in all offices the way that we're saying. And if they don't, we'll work on fixing them, you know, or at least trying our best to fix them. The answers that you got are unfortunate. I'm glad that you got to one of the supervisors there who was able to provide you with service that you appreciated more and thought was better. Please continue to do it what this lady just did.
If you want to end up in the crazy house, try calling Verizon.
Good. Let's turn the attention to how bad Verizon is and let the commission off the hook. I love that.
I let them off the hook. You weren't here, but I come from Florida, and the Division of Line Services lacks a lot more than what lacks here. And I kind of know the protocol from going up the ladder and winding up at CAP and all the things, so I kind of know what to do when I don't find what I'm supposed to.
Good.
So that's kind of how I knew what to do.
Can I ask you your name?
My name is Randy Radner Sanfilippo.
Randy was just identifying, so I'll repeat it into the mic, that she was got services from the Florida equivalent of the Commission for the Blind and had some struggles there, and we were able to pull a compliment out of Randy, which I'm grateful for. That we did provide some better services.
Oh, I told them earlier, it took me 10 years when I went totally blind. I was 42 to get mobility, and I only got it because of a job. So it's much different than here.
I'm glad at least to hear that.
So then, Baruch, I mean, there is some interest of yours in this. Baruch would be the place to come to, via the commission or not, to take specific courses like 101 computer, 102 technology, I mean, on a higher level. Is that what you provide here? Do you have classes that one pays for?
Yes, in answer to your question, yes, absolutely. We are the Computer Center for Visually Impaired People, and what we do is we work with people of every degree of vision impairment and every degree of age, and every degree of capability to really have them develop the skill set to be able to use a computer independently. And we start with the most basic functions, which is keyboarding, and then we move through different, working with different assistive technologies, and then using those assistive technologies to learn specific programs, anywhere from every aspect of Microsoft Office, which is like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, the internet, email, even Access, and we've even very recently just launched our first Mac Apple training program. So we're also working on that. We're working on developing additional courses. We also work with, we work both with groups, group settings, and on individual bases, or whatever the word might be. And we teach specific devices as well. So it's not just limited to PC or Mac. I've also, I've worked with students teaching them how to use the iPad or the iPhone, or different types of scanning technologies, or being able to download NLS books onto their portable reading device like the Victor Reader Stream or the BookSense. So we really kind of anything that might have something to do with a computer or something to do with technology, we've kind of got our hands in, and if there's something specific that you'd be interested in learning, please contact us, and we can have a conversation about whether or not we offer it. And as we always say, if we get enough requests for a certain thing, we develop programming for it.
Now, is there a fee for that though?
I'm sorry?
Is there a fee for that?
Is there a fee for the training?
Yeah.
Most of our students are sponsored by the commission. Thank you, guys. And but some people do come in paying on their own, and we do have fee structures for individuals who do that as well. Yes,
There's
sir?
1:30 class that you're offering on the first Wednesday of the month.
Yes.
Where do you go for this class?
It's held in our classroom, in our computer lab, which is across the street from this building that you're in right now.
Yeah.
So it's in this neighborhood. And you would call our main number to reserve a seat so that we know to expect you that day. Our next one is October 5th. So,
Question?
yes, 1 second. Lady over here had a comment.
The one who talks a lot.
No, well, you had a comment, so I didn't want to.
No,
I didn't want
this
to
is
step
just
over you.
wonderful, because it's like being an attorney, and you know only being an attorney, but you're gonna work in China. So now you are providing a way for us to utilize what we already know without sight, and then we can learn what equipment you have and make it usable by us. And that seems like everyone would know that, but it just isn't so. So that's really great. That's really great. I'm really glad to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the intentions of these presentations is really to not just to have occasions where people can come and learn about specific either technologies or services. In the case of today, it really is also to let people know that we do offer this as a service, so that, again, like I said, we want people to have as much information as possible where it may not be readily available, or you may have the information but not the hands-on opportunities.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we intend to do, and that's why this program was created.
Thanks.
You're welcome. A gentleman here towards the center had a question.
Question
Yes.
for Jason or
Okay.
anyone. We have a friend who is in a job situation where they've installed a different computer system, they've upgraded software, et cetera, and so forth, and basically the person needs a scripter, JAWS scripter, who can script for the new software that the person is using. The situation is that it's kind of dragging, and it's not moving along as it should, and our friend could lose a job. Are there scripters known to the commission that could be put on this?
There are, and Gus is chomping at the bit for the mic, but I'm gonna give the first part of the information and then let him give the second. The first part of the information is You're identifying a circumstance where someone is employed and they're visually impaired,
Yes.
and something happened on their job that changes the situation.
Right.
The moment that happens to anyone in the room and all the people you talk about, that's the ideal moment to call the Commission for the Blind immediately. Right? So if this individual person has done that, I hope they have, then, and they've gone on and we said, what do I say when I want to get the counselor on the phone? Add to my comment, I'm John Smith, I'm a vision impaired New Yorker, I want to speak to a OD counselor, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. The phone will get to the counselor faster if you do it that way, right? So do that, and your friend, if he hasn't done that, my hope is the moment you get out of this meeting, you'll call him and tell him to do that, or her to do that.
It's being passed around, but it's since May 13th.
Okay, the same person? Well, okay, so when we're finished, you should absolutely tell me that person's name so I can get to that, because we don't want in any circumstance for someone to lose employment because of that.
Yeah.
So, having said that though, then the person should be, I should say these things, sponsored by the Commission and picked up quickly, and then the idea of getting a scripter would be something that would be either funded by the employer or funded by the Commission, depending on this whole host of circumstances that we keep talking about the individual needs of a specific case and all these circumstances that we work through. So that's the Commission portion, but I know Gus can talk about the scripting portion, so let me hand the microphone back to him.
Well, scripting is also a service that CCVIP offers. So that's something that we have somebody who is trained by the people who've created JAWS to be able to do scripting. So that's something that we can do to support the community as well. So if once your friend has been in touch with the Commission, I'm sure the Commission can get in touch with us, or your friend can get in touch with us and have a conversation with Karen, probably, who is the best capable of answering most questions on that subject, and then we can move forward from there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Any other questions? I think we've passed the 2:30 mark, so what I want to do now is actually end this portion of the session and allow, if you have any individual questions that you might want to ask either Cheryl or Louie or Jason, that you can come up and speak to them individually, not on mic. Just so that you can have some private or some time to do that. And then we'll, after that 15 or 20 minutes, we'll come back and we'll complete the afternoon. Okay?
I just want to say
Yes.
thank you so much for having them come today, to share all the information.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You have the good work. Yeah.